All right, my friends, welcome to episode 330 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak. Can I tell you something real fast?
Yes.
We were in a car, and my wife turns the car on, and then there's someone talking, and they say, "There's a sex dungeon." And I say, "Oh shit, is that my podcast?" Because I thought, I had a video game
Sure.
podcast or whatever. I thought it was connected to Bluetooth, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Turned out it was NPR. It was not a podcast. And I'm still confused about what they were talking about. But my wife says, "Wait a second. You said that you and Anthony do a video game podcast. You're podcasting about sex dungeons?" I was like, "No, not my podcast. I meant a podcast that I was listening to. What the fuck?" So that's I wanted to share that story with you.
Nice.
Yes. So
No
now my
experience
wife
with
has questions.
sex buttons. I'm sure they exist in this city.
Oh,
Pretty.
yeah. I'm sure.
Maybe not on where I live specifically, but I mean, I look at Seattle. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. Pretty sure I walked by plenty of them. Really, if I thought about it much, depending on where I worked in the city at certain times.
There are definitely sex clubs, right? Like SF has
yeah.
sex clubs. I'm not sure what a sex dungeon is, but I guess I'll tune into NPR next week and figure that out.
There you go.
But not this podcast. This podcast we're talking about video games, and Sony had a state of play. I think it was Tuesday. I've lost track of time.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, so I was close.
The only reason I know it's Wednesday because it happened at the same time. This is my news for the week that has nothing to do with sex dungeons and completely opposite.
Boring.
Was, talking to kids at Phoenix Children's Hospital.
You did?
About Astroneer and making games. It was a couple designers, a couple QA, an artist. We just our community manager coordinated. I think the Phoenix Children's Hospital reached out, and so some of the kids there had played Astroneer on Switch. We sent them copies of Astroneer, and they played, and we did like an hour long, just kind of chatting with them and talking about making games.
That's awesome.
While the state of play was going on.
So you missed it.
I did miss it. It was better. Talking to kids was better.
Yeah, better use of your time.
So,
yeah. What kind of questions did they ask?
Honestly, standard ones. Like, they were younger teens, so it's a lot of like how do you get in the industry? How'd you get in the industry?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did you want to make games? Basically things like that. That was like, how does this all come about? How did you make the games and stuff like that? Which I've talked to other kids, and that's pretty common for that age.
Right.
About like, it's kind of that like, wait, people make games. How do they do that? Sort of question.
People make money doing this? Like, well, yeah.
Yes, I remember. Man, that's the thing, because it came up to me and they're like, how'd you get in? I'm like, because there's one of the designers there. It's like, since he was like a very young kid, like playing Link to the Past, was like, I want to make games. I want to make stories for games.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually became a designer. Like, realized that writing for games is a very different beast than just writing,
right.
Like novels or anything. And became a designer. And I'm like, man, I never wanted to make games since I was like super young kid. It wasn't around until high school.
When you got the urge.
I think I mentioned it in high school, like some. But I was going to do computer science, but I didn't know if specifically I would end up in games, but I wanted to try. But I do remember specifically it was like System Shock 2. Like, this was pretty close to us going into college.
Mm-hmm.
Probably junior year of high school. And System Shock 2 actually, had physical manual. At the end of it, though, there's a designer notes, and it was Ken Levine had written like 3 pages of just like what it was like to make the game and stuff. And that was the thing that clicked my mind into being, people make these. People make a living doing this. How do I do that?
Wow. Wow, that's like the moment.
I do remember specifically in it and that's also why Ken Levine was always someone that I like. With never meeting him or anything, was just like, okay, who was this person? How did they get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? And then I met them like 2 years later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 2 years later. And they gave me advice. It was incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. That is
Yeah,
really
but
cool.
that was the moment. And I was like, and so I'm like telling them like, you don't necessarily know what you're going to do in high school, but or going in that so young, like I just kind of wanted to see if I could do it. But I also got a programming comp sci degree so that if it didn't work out, I could, make money.
Yeah, you had a strong backup plan.
Yeah, basically a very strong backup plan. That didn't work out.
I can use my coding skills anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Fine, I'll go work at Microsoft and be in a soul-crushing job, but it will pay me good money so that I can not be in a soul-crushing job later.
Yeah, exactly. Like work 10 years in a soul-crushing job, make a ton of money, and be smart and save it and get the fuck out.
I've known plenty of people that have done it.
Yep.
In software.
Yeah, it seems like a smart strategy.
If you can survive.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You don't stay so long that you have your soul has been crushed. You got to time it right. Got to escape the swamp before it drops on your head.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's cool. I haven't heard that from you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, whenever I think about your career, sometimes I'm like, damn, like you're not lucky because you're super, you're skillful and you know what you're doing. But
no.
You're gonna say
let's actually equate both of those. I've put a lot of work into it. I know that I've put a fair amount of effort into doing it, but there's still a huge amount of luck to actually getting into the industry and staying in the industry. Like those two things have to line up.
Yeah.
Kind of. The effort just gave me more rolls of the dice to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, I don't believe in luck. I believe that it's opportunity plus preparation. So you prepared and you had an opportunity, but other people may feel differently. But I think about it in terms of like developers who are in kind of like the big, I don't know, big dev houses that kind of feel like they're just getting crunched to death. And like you seemed, obviously PopCap when EA bought it. I don't know what happened there, but you seem to have been in smaller places since then that have been pretty good to you.
Yeah, I've had a good time, and I mean PopCap up until EA was a good time, and even post EA, while I have my frustrations with it, I was never treated poorly.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a like, man, I'm being crunched and this is like such a soul sucking job. It was just well, I can't really do the things that excite me here anymore. It was more of a creative like passion difference at that point. Not a like, well, I'm gonna have to like really crunch to get this Bejeweled Blitz update out or anything. No, it was nothing like that. Like the actual like quality of work environment was still pretty strong. It was just the realization of the things that I really want to make that excite me or things that I'll never get to make here.
Yeah.
So it's either I stay here and just ride this out, being a cog in a machine at that point, or try to move along and try different things. And I never wanted to be a cog in a machine, so that was an easy choice when it came down to it.
And that's what I told the kids at the children's hospital. Don't be
a
no, just kidding.
No, I didn't talk about any of that part.
Just grizzled dev veteran. Just don't become a cog in the wheel, kids. Or a cog in the machine.
I mean, so many people are though.
And they are, yeah, I know.
Like you look at any of the team, like look at Assassin's Creed game, 1,000 people work on that. How much impact can generally one person have? Like they get a list of things that they need to have done. Do it.
Well, and as you mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, it's rolling across time zones. So when Canada goes to sleep, it picks up in, would have picked up in Ukraine, moved on or whatever. Fuck Putin, by the way. Just gonna put that in there.
Fuck Putin.
Fuck Putin. Fuck Putin is fucking.
Continue
Putin
with that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, you can't affect much. You're just in a rolling machine, Like I saw like updates this weekend from Ubisoft about like For Honor Year 5 and no, The Crew Year 5 and For Honor Year 7. I was like, Jesus Christ, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Just rolling forward.
And that's pretty common at any of the big AAA studios. They just take so many people to make those games now that it's you need to find very big fulfillment in your one task that you're doing.
Yeah.
Not in like the I am greatly affecting this product sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's like, we need your body to code. We need your body to make art. And we need your body, whatever.
Yeah, we need butts and seats.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's just how it is, and that's general software development and everything. Like, it comes down to that at that point. And I have found that I like smaller teams, and I like to feel like I have big impact.
Yeah.
And so,
well, you've had
happy where I'm at.
You've had a big impact on this podcast.
I guess I have.
Well, I mean, it was just me talking to myself, so this is a big improvement. But you didn't get to watch it. You watched it later, though. The state of play. I did watch it later. Started off with Destiny Dinosaur thing.
I was like, is this Dino Crisis?
It looked like Dino Crisis.
And then I was like, oh, it's Anthem Dino Crisis? Oh, it's what the hell am I looking at? It's Exoprimal from Capcom. Who owned Dino Crisis? Why didn't they just call it
Who owned
a Dino Crisis game?
So confusing. But yeah, it looked like Anthem with dinosaurs is what it looked like to me.
Kind of. Yeah, I mean, Anthem in the like you're in the like exosuits kind of thing. Gameplay wise, it just looks like well, I read about it and it was different than I thought. It's actually like semi-competitive.
Oh.
Like, missions are 2 teams of 4, and you're not really fighting each other. You're competing to complete objectives.
Is it like in multiplayer, like
you can like fuck with each other?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it is somewhat competitive. I would say co-opetition, I think, is the term I've used sometimes for that. Because you still want to complete all the objectives. You just want to be on the team that does it the best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And completes the most objectives. So that was even more different than the trailer showed So I don't know. It's super weird. I doubt I'll play it. I'll be honest. But
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, yeah, probably not.
But I was like, sure, okay. Dinosaurs just raining out of the sky.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was kind of a cool look, but as I was playing, I was thinking like, I'm not sure that I really like playing Capcom games very much. I know you like Monster Hunter. I think that's Capcom. But I just haven't really connected with very many Capcom games in a long time.
No, not in a while. Monster Hunter is probably the only one that I can think of that I've played in the past many years. I don't really. Well, I haven't played Mega Man in a while.
I mean,
done any?
Have they put one out? They put out the collections.
They put out the collections. I don't think they put a new one out.
I think 10 was the last one.
Yeah. There's always Street Fighter.
Yeah, Street Fighter 6 got announced recently.
Which looks so weird, I'll be honest. I'm not a huge fan of the art style.
No, me neither. I feel like I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's cribbing off 5, like it's just like an evolution of 5's art style.
It is. Yeah.
So
kind of. Yeah. They're just I'm like, let's use the stretch and scale feature more on Street Fighter 5 characters.
Yeah, I was hoping for, because they were rumoring about Street Fighter 6 being announced, I was hoping for some like a radical departure in terms of art style, like even like a retro look, but I don't know.
No.
I'm also not. I would like to say that I'm not super into fighting games, and I'm really not. I like Smash, and then with WWE 2K22 getting good reviews and watching the videos, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I really like these fighting games too.
Hey, and there's one that actually got a good. Seems like it's a decent version of that game again.
Yeah, they. For me, it was all about showcase mode, and they took that out, and they started making it more complicated and just dumb. So I was like, I'm not playing these games anymore. But I bought them every year because I grew up with wrestling. I loved it, and I like the fighting games when they're like more arcadey as opposed to simmy. And this one seems to be back to the arcadey. It's got the showcase mode with Rey Mysterio. I have not bought it yet because I'm sticking to Horizon. But it's tempting the fuck out of me. That's my guilty pleasure game, pretty much.
There you go.
But that's not none of this is in the fucking showcase.
Nope.
The next one on the showcase is Ghostwire Tokyo, which comes out in 12 days?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. End of the month. I mean, it looks interesting. Like IGN had like a long video that I watched about like playthrough of it. I mean, FPS weird Japanese horror thing.
Yeah, right.
It's definitely unique. Again, I don't think I'd get it at launch, but it's definitely one that I'm like, oh, I could see myself playing this later. It plays with Japanese and like Shinto mythologies pretty heavily in its themes, and it looks interesting. Does it look amazing? No, it's probably a 7 or 8 out of 10 game, I would expect.
Yeah.
So good. Seemed very competent, looked pretty, had great particle effects. I think that is Sony exclusive for a year, something like that.
That's what I understand. Yep.
Yeah, even though this is Bethesda still.
Mm-hmm.
So, got to finish out those contracts before.
This is the last one. I think it was Deathloop and then this one.
Yep.
So they're just like, get the fucking thing out so we can start the year clock, please.
And then we rolled into a new demo dropped for Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which I have not played the demo. I'm downloading it.
Yeah.
I'll probably play it sometime in the next couple days. I just want to try it. I want to see what this thing is, because, oh my god, I feel like it's going to be the most absurd aspects of Final Fantasy, and I'm kind of here for it in that way. It's going to be so dumb, and it's going to be great.
I downloaded the first demo, and I wasn't super impressed with the moment-to-moment gameplay, but the world building looked really cool. I was just like, okay, this is like Souls-y Final Fantasy.
Kind of. It's the Team Ninja who made Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Are doing this, and once I saw more of the trailer, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see how this is like Neo done as a Final Fantasy in some ways. As supposedly this one, you can choose. It's like the start of the game, and the progress will roll over. I think
the demo is. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I like when they do that.
And I think this allows you to there's different jobs you can pick at the beginning. I don't know if the old demo. I didn't play the other demo, but you can choose different jobs. And I saw one of the trailers was person playing monk, and I don't know. It is Souls-like, but you also have a party with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So AIs are doing stuff too. So it could be interesting. Like I said, I'll try the demo. We'll see how I feel about it. I'm not picking it up on this Tuesday when it comes out. So
I'm surprised. I didn't realize it was coming out so quickly.
Yeah.
The beginning of the year, man, is just stacked. I'm glad the next
stacked.
game pushed forward. Forspoken was going to come out in May and it moved to October, which was announced before the state of play, so they could focus on the trailer and not that shit.
Yeah.
Gary Whitta is writing for this one.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he's like a lead writer or just one of the writers, but he's writing on this game.
Probably not the only one.
I would no, I don't think he's the only one, but I don't know if he's like a lead writer or like just I don't know, like a quest writer or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Does it say? I mean, Amy Hennig is a writer on it as well.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I'm becoming more and more interested.
I
mean, I like how it looks. I'm not really a big fan. I don't know what the fucking. There's a name for the specific genre. I can't remember it. But it's where a modern person goes back into or is popped into an alternate reality and has to figure it out and survive and shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I know the term. It's a Japanese term.
Yes, exactly.
It's like portal story type thing.
Yeah.
Crap, I can't remember what it was. I won't remember it right now. But yes, it is that trope basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks cool. Movement looks cool. Actually, movement reminds me a lot of Warframe movement.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, just how she runs through the environment and parkours off things.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally Warframe. Warframe's all about just smooth. Can you execute very fast, smooth movement through environments?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, some of the trailers are just yep, she's running fast, flipping, jumping, parkouring off things, trying to not lose momentum. So, but spell effects and visuals look really pretty.
It does.
So,
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
So, if they take the time to polish between, May and October, that's great. So it could be.
Composers are Bear McCreary.
Really?
And Gary Shyman. Bear McCreary I mean, he's done a bunch
Last
of
of Us
TV.
and-
Yeah.
Mm.
And he did like the Battlestar Galactica remake.
Oh, okay.
That's where I know him. He did some incredible music and score work on that show. And Gary Scheinman, who was the composer for BioShock series.
Oh, wow.
Composed, I think, all of them.
Well, that's great. That's going to be some good stuff then, because those are
Yeah, I
two-
have.
the pedigree there.
Yeah. So I feel like that game just has a really strong pedigree of people making it.
Yeah. And
So
that has to mean something, right? Luminous,
yeah,
are they the ones that made
Gary-
Final Fantasy? Sorry, go ahead.
Gary Whitta is the story lead.
Ah, there we go. Okay, so story lead. So please be good. That I hope that means that the plot is not like hackneyed. Like it can't be.
Yeah.
Right. Please, it can't
Yeah.
be if he's leading it.
I'm looking at Luminous Productions.
They did Final Fantasy 15. Am I wrong about that?
Is an external company from the development team of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. Right.
So they're yes. I don't think they
maybe
are all
spun
the
off.
people that worked on Final Fantasy 15, but they are a chunk of people that
Right.
worked on Final Fantasy 15.
And I really enjoy that game. I'm probably the only person on the fucking planet who the only Final Fantasy game they've completed is Final Fantasy 15. But that's me.
15.
But I really
There's
enjoy
a
that
lot. There's a lot to like in that game. I mean, I think we've both said in many podcasts before. It's a flawed game.
Yep.
But was a lot. I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yep.
For the most part. So, yep. So they spun off of that. They were Square Enix Business Division 2 before Luminous Productions.
Did they just change their name, or they like left and did their own company?
No,
Because I thought they were part of Square, but maybe I'm wrong.
they're a subsidiary of Square still.
Oh, okay,
they just kind of like. I guess that's probably a thing. I don't know if it's the entire Square Enix Business Division 2 became Luminous Productions, or a chunk of them became Luminous Productions, and there's still Business Division 2 exists.
Right.
But either way, this is the game that they left and started making. So.
It's definitely.
That Square Enix says right here. So many were taken from the internal development Business Division 2 that created Final Fantasy 15 that Square Enix stated it no longer exists.
Oh wow! So it basically just transitioned into this.
Yeah. So they basically just decided to do this, and then yeah.
Well, it's one of the games that's on my radar. I want to, this is a review game. Like if this gets high reviews, then I'm probably gonna put it on my list, and if it doesn't, then I'll probably pass.
Yeah.
The next game was Gundam Evolution, which I don't know much about, and I wasn't really interested. Kind of looks like I don't know if it's like a hero shooter. Like everything.
It's competitive. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a 6v6. I'm sure it's hero shooter, and the Gundams are probably, from what I could tell, have special ability.
That's what it looked like to me too.
The hero is the robot in this one. So
great. I'm sure that that's for somebody. So everything up until now is kind of like, it's okay. Like a couple things are like, all right, and then I lost my shit at the next one. Lost my shit. I'm so excited, and I am so sad that I have to give Konami money, but I'm so going to do this as soon as I can. They announced the TMNT Cowabunga Collection for 2022, which has 13 motherfucking Ninja Turtle games, including some ones that I'm never going to play. But it has Turtles in Time, it has the Manhattan Project, it has the arcade game, it has the fucking Tournament Fighters. I'm so excited. I
know you're excited.
God, I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I'm glad you're excited. I've realized playing some of these a few years ago, many years ago actually, at this point, but in my adult time, I need to leave the rose-tinted glasses of my childhood alone with these, because so many of them are not good games. They're mediocre to okay games.
It's been so nice having you on this podcast, Anthony. But
and it's not the thing. I like that's the thing with it. I just look at myself. I'm just like, even Turtles in Time, which I'm like, that's a fine brawler.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, man, it's still just an arcade brawler. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate. But it's for the time. I'm like, oh yeah, as a kid, this was amazing.
Well, I think if you're
Now
not,
I'm like, oh, why did brawlers go away? Because they're brawlers
yeah,
generally,
exactly.
and they don't offer, outside of the arcade environment, don't offer a huge amount of variety, I guess, anymore.
Well, they don't. I mean, even from level to level. For me, the variety was like what new enemies are going to be. You know, like the connection to the IP was so strong. If these were, if this was an IP that I was not connected to, I would not give a fuck at all. But I cannot wait, and it's weird.
I'm sure.
I'm worried. I think that Shredder's Revenge is not. It's not Konami. It's whatever it is. The ones .emu or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's weird if that one is coming out in 2022 as well. If Konami was like, fuck that, we're going to get ours out too. Just throw them all out there.
Good.
But Digital Eclipse.
Because it's like, it's just a modern, I'm like, things have shifted so much and over time. 30-ish, almost 30 years on some of these things.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, I'm hoping Shredder's Revenge, like .emu going with that, will have. I'm like, show me just a kick-ass brawler. Show me a modern kick-ass brawler. That's what I want. I want.
Yeah.
That harkens back to these. These are very good games, and they like set good foundations. It's just, man, I'm like looking at the brawler type thing. I'm like, it's the last one I really enjoyed or had a good time with. What was the Behemoths one? That was the one.
Castle Crashers?
Castle Crashers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was basically it. I was like, okay. But I'm like, also still a brawler that has poop jokes. That's like, I'm like, cool. It has really cool art and poop jokes. And it's fun to play with my friends.
Yes.
That's where it was. So. Man, and you said 13 games. There are some of these games I'm like, fuck, don't ever want to touch those again.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
There's no reason those should be brought to modern audiences ever.
Yep.
Unless you just want to experience pain.
Yes.
Like the original NES.
That one.
Turtles game? Fuck.
Nope. I want to go back to that for the same reason I went back to Battletoads in the whatever the fucking Rare Replay collection. Because it's Digital Eclipse, so they're adding, I think there's some museum mode as well, but they're adding like fast forward, rewind, whatever, save states, yada yada yada, which you can do in emulation anyways. But that fucking first Turtles game, I'm curious to see what I think about it now, because I fucking hated it so much.
I don't think it's gotten any better.
No, I'm sure it hasn't. I'm sure it hasn't, but I think I've gotten better. So maybe I just was too young to get it. Maybe I'll be better at it now. Probably not. But I was very excited about this. The next one, though, was... I don't know anything about it. Gigabash. It's a kaiju brawler.
Neither do I. I'm just like, cool, it's a big kind of like... Yeah, it's the 4-player battle thing going on there. I'm trying to think. There was a... GameCube, no, I think it was on GameCube, but also on N64, maybe PS2. There was basically like a Godzilla 4 multiplayer like brawler thing, like, and that's, I'm like, oh, you want to do that, but you don't have the license, so you're just gonna do it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, it says right here, destroy all monsters.
Yep.
Godzilla destroy all monsters. That's what they're trying to do because there hasn't been a new one of those in forever. It was a lot of stupid fun in college. I'll give it that. But not the most exciting thing to me overall.
Yeah. Do you know what the next one is? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
I know the anime. And I know this is an older fighting game that's being remastered. This is the crazy thing about it. I'm just like, right. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is like super popular anime. I never got into it. I've seen 1 or 2 episodes of like the original, like, because it's been around for a long time. I'm trying to see how long, but I'm pretty sure, 87.
Wow.
Was when the manga started coming out. The anime, the original OVA, that's what I had seen, was 93. And I saw some of that in college, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It is so weird.
Appropriately named.
Then. Fucking weird.
Well, someone excited about this game coming back with 50
I watched
characters.
Oof. Yeah, if I saw I think it was on Sony's channel, like, because I went there later to watch this. They had like the individual trailers kind of out. This had like one of the most views of everything. Okay. So like, I know JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is like a super popular brand. I just don't know why, and I never could get into it. Like, after seeing like 2 episodes, I was like, this is not anime for me. I don't understand why. But I also don't watch Dragon Ball Z, so
right. Well, that's good.
But clearly popular.
Yes, exactly. People were excited about this.
The next one looks badass.
The last one, Trek to Yomi.
Yeah.
Like black and white Kurosawa kind of samurai thing.
Yeah. It looked really cool.
It does, and it's coming out soon. It's coming out this spring.
Yeah. I saw that the Devolver Digital, like, one of their community managers was reaching out to streamers saying, hey, if you want to stream it pre-release, get in contact. We're setting everything up now. So I'm expecting a month or 4 to 6 weeks, probably.
Wow, they're getting ready to go.
I expect probably the end of April, beginning of May, mid-May, probably. But yeah, it looks cool, and yeah, Devolver. So
it's the one from the whole presentation I thought looked the most, other than Turtles, like nostalgia thing. Like this looked the coolest, I thought.
It did look really cool. It had a great art style. It knows what it's trying to do. I love this thing, the state of play being that this is generally mostly Japanese developers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's something about this, like the way that they're using Japanese mythology in this, because there's a bunch of Shinto in this as well, and ancient Japanese mythology being used inside this trailer and what we saw. And I was like, I can tell this is actually someone from that culture who knows this. Like, it feels very authentic in that way, and how they're riffing off that mythology, which is probably my one thing with Ghost of Tsushima, where I thought they did fine, but I could tell it was a Western developer.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Taking inspiration from that stuff, from the looks and the mythology. There's just something different whenever it's like, oh no, you live in this culture. There's something else you're bringing to this.
Definitely
which is
cool
to see. Yeah, there's just there was little things. I was like, oh, I get it. Which was the same with Ghostwire as well.
Mm-hmm.
There were just certain elements and ways that they reference things and mention things. I'm like, no Western developer would say this or think to say this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited for that. And yeah, it looks like a black and white Kurosawa movie.
It looks so good. The next one, I think some people had predicted this. Returnal is getting some DLC, which is like a survival mode and then 2-player campaign co-op, which that piece looks really
That's
cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't have this game yet. I think I will eventually get it. I keep waiting for the right time and the right price on this for me. But Housemarque games are great. And
yeah.
I'm glad there's more content for this game, because this is it was well received even though it was difficult.
Yeah. Campaign co-op would probably make that a lot more.
I think so too.
Enjoyable.
Accessible, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as like, we're bringing in 2 people, so we're gonna amp the difficulty up. Like, no, how about you keep it the same? Just have 2 people. The next 2 games came out of fucking left field for me, although I guess the second one of the 2 here is next in a series.
Yes.
But these fucking names, by the way. But Diofield Chronicle, which looks like a strategy game. Strategy RPG.
It is a strategy game, but I was like, is this Square's take on Fire Emblem?
It looked like Fire Emblem. Exactly.
It did. But it was like very pretty Fire Emblem.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I was like, it's fucking Fire Emblem.
And that's what I felt like it is. Like, people are like, oh, it's like Final Fantasy Tactics, but not. And I'm like, no, the scale of battles and how it's playing out, it looks like a non-gridded, because it doesn't look like it uses grid.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem game that just has really like really pretty graphics.
Yep, absolutely.
That Fire Emblem could never do on just the Switch alone.
Right. Yeah, it says that this launches on Switch and then, PS5 and whatever else.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that Switch version is going to be rough.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure.
Like, this is a PS5 game.
Yeah.
It looked great. It looked really cool. And made me think, oh yeah, I need to go back and finish Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yes, you do. It's worth finishing.
Yes.
I thought I need to actually just play it again and play the DLC, which I never did.
Oh, interesting. You go back and play the Blue Lions, of course.
Yeah. Sure. I do have a partial playthrough. I was doing the Yellow Deer.
Yeah.
Because I finished it. Was it the Black House?
Yeah, you did the black, whatever the fucking
Black, yeah.
Black walruses or whatever.
Eagles,
sure.
Eagles?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I finished it. I started playing through as the Yellow Deer as well. But there's also the DLC piece that I never played through. The Gray House or whatever it was.
Yeah. Right.
Which doesn't connect back to the main game. It's just like a separate chunk of story to play. I should play that again. But I'm looking forward to Diofield Chronicles. God damn it.
Fucking names.
Yeah, later this year though. So, but it did look cool, and I was like, I'm here for that. I'm interested in another company trying to riff on the Fire Emblem.
Yes, me too.
Formula. Like, it can't just be Nintendo pushing that forward. Like, we need other companies to like make their own takes on that and hopefully push things along.
Yeah, and when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, I need to get back and play that. Like, I was so excited. I love Fire Emblem. I was so excited. And I was like, why didn't I finish that game? And I didn't like the castle interactions, the talking to people and all that shit, the teaching, especially the teaching. Good God. And that just killed it for me. I was like, maybe there's a way. Maybe I should just go there and like, there was an option to like make that automatic or whatever and not actually do it. Maybe I'll go back and do that.
And yeah, the next one, which was surprising to me, it looks very different than any of the previous Valkyrie games. Mm-hmm. Valkyrie Elysium, for PS4, PS5, supposedly later this year, probably I assume end of the year. Yeah, I never actually had played the Valkyrie profile games. I knew, the first one was PS1. I knew a friend in college who had it, who enjoyed it. But I never played them. They honestly had thought this franchise had just kind of been sunset by the wayside. And it kind of had.
Yeah, it's been almost 20 years.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see Square bring it back, but it's a very different mechanically, because pretty sure Valkyrie Profile was more traditional JRPG in some way. 2D. Trying to think if it was turn-based kind of combat. It was more platformy than traditional RPG, but it did have some. If you hit an enemy, you'd have more of a JRPG style, like battle. But there was like platformy elements to the game. This just seems very action combat-y, kind of riffing on Final Fantasy VII Remake and things like that.
Yeah.
So could be cool. It's very Norse. I mean, Valkyrie, so it's Norse mythology inspired.
Yeah, it looks interesting. The one before it looks better to me, but there's a lot of big games coming out this year. So this whole State of Play had some pretty compelling, bigger games.
Yeah, I think there was some disappointment because people wanted to see, like I had seen going to this, they're going to show us like Bloodborne remastered, like all the standard stuff that you'd expect that people are like, I want to see. But I think Sony was even clear. They're like, hey, this is not E3. This isn't our like huge big game announcements. This is just partners that we have in Japan mostly that are making some cool games that we want to show off. So,
well, and State of Play's always been like kind of the smaller-ish
yes,
things. You're not going to get the big bangers at the State of Plays, and that's fine.
Yeah.
People need to get their expectations in check a little bit.
Yeah, but no one does. Everyone
No,
wants
of course not.
everyone wants E3 all the time.
Right.
Every announcement. Let's go. Because people were like, oh, it'll be Final Fantasy 16 is going to be shown off in here, and I'm like, no, I don't think that will be in a State of Play. That's probably not even going to be on like Sony stage and an E3. Like they might have a trailer, but Square's going to do their when they show off Final Fantasy 16 next time. They're not gonna just stick it into someone else's presentation,
right.
Basically.
Right.
And I think they've already said that. They're like, no, we will have a big reveal when it's time. So, no Final Fantasy 16, no other crazy remasters or anything right now.
I wonder if 16 will be this year, because that Square just announced quite a few games coming out this year.
Originally it was, but this is the great thing about some amount of transparency. So the director producer of 16 is the same producer as Final Fantasy 14. Right. So a lot of the Final Fantasy 14 part of people are working on 16. And he's been very transparent saying, hey, we've had with COVID, it has delayed how like our art outsourcing and just it's just not where we want it to be right now. It sounded like originally they did want it in 2022, but it didn't say when it's going to be, but it was like, it just sounds like it's been delayed. It's probably 2023 at this point. It sounds like it was 6 months delayed, basically.
Yeah.
So Forspoken probably takes the spot they wanted it for. Right.
That makes a lot more sense to me because of everything they just showed here. It just seems like you would be cannibalizing some of your sales or whatever. Like the genre is close enough in some of these that like, I don't know. I think you'd want some distance.
Yeah. So, but there has been promised by Yoshi P that there will be a update on Final Fantasy 16 in the first half of this year. And when they do that update, he doesn't want to do a big update with what's going on with 16 if it's not relatively close to coming out.
Yeah.
So people are thinking 6 to 8 months after that announcement is when the actual release is. So my thought is basically. Maybe. Yeah, I could see it coming out in like March 2023 at this point. Mm-hmm. And so.
That's a good roadmap for them because considering what we just saw, like they've got a good slate of games this year.
They do.
Poorly named. Triangle Strategy just came out, and then we've got Diamondfold Chronicles or whatever the fuck. God damn it. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so mad about it. Name your shit whatever you want, but this is just comically bad.
So I would agree.
Anyway. How about what have you been playing this week? Oh, Elden Ring. You have been not sleeping, apparently, since you played 80 fucking hours.
I've played 80 hours of Elden Ring since I got it on the 28th of February, the last day of February.
It's 13th of March, folks. Crazy. Tell us that.
I shouldn't say I finished it. I completed a playthrough of it. I got an ending. I chose my ending. There are multiple endings. Based on one. It is one of the best games I've ever played. Hands down.
Wow.
Like just hands down one of the best games I've ever played. It constantly over this past week has still gotten bigger and bigger. like it doesn't stop. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but this game, like if you remember coming out of the vault in Fallout 3, you get this or Breath of the Wild. You come out of the cave in Breath of the Wild and you see the map, get to that cliff and it's like, oh, look at this giant world. Probably have 4 or 5 of those throughout this entire game. just moments where you're just like, fuck, this is way bigger than I thought. Fuck, this is still way bigger than I thought. Oh my god, why? How can it be bigger? Like,
wow.
why? How?
How many years did they spend making this fucking game? Jesus.
I don't know. I have no clue how they made this game. I want a no-clip documentary on how they made this game. I really do, because as a developer, I cannot conceive of how they built this game.
Yeah.
Like, just the amount of content, and it's insane. And the amount of content that, honestly, a majority of players are never going to see.
Right.
Because some of this, like, areas that I went to, I'm like, yeah, I'll be honest, I looked at guides because I'm just like, I want to go see all these areas. And so I just went through guides, and I was like looking at the guide on how you unlock in-game pieces. And I'm like, fuck, no average gamer is going to figure that out. Like, you don't just luck into that. Like, you intentionally set out to do that, which is fine. Because when you talk about intention, I mean, the Miyazaki, the director of this and stuff, actually didn't start making games. He worked at Oracle until 29, and then he took a pay cut and went to work for From.
Wait, he worked at Oracle until when?
He was 29 years old.
Oh, okay. What year was that, do you know? Like...
So, I don't remember. It was PS1 days.
Okay.
Because he became a developer on the original Armored Core on PS1.
Right.
And he inherited, he did fine on that, and then that was whenever they had Demon Souls, and it wasn't named Demon Souls, it was just like, From had a floundering fantasy RPG project, and like, it was already internally considered a loss. Like, it was just bad. And he pitched, he's like, I'm young, I'm new to this, young-ish for the industry, but he's like, the new guy, let me be director on it. If it fails, like, what do you have to lose? It's already a bad project. And He made Demon Souls out of it.
Wow.
It kind of solidified his, like, position. But he has a, I looked it up. His degree, I mean, is not what you would expect. It was kind of crazy. He's where was he? He was degree in social science.
Oh, that's certainly not what I expected. But he
worked as an account manager at Oracle.
That's a big change.
It was a huge change.
But I wonder if that's what infuses his games with something different.
I think that's exactly why, and this is where I go back to the intention of like that thing where I was saying like finding end games that was so convoluted, you're not just going to come across it. You need to look at guides or talk to people. His key thing, and it is very intentional, is creating social connection in these games through a way of, I'm going to talk to other people playing this game to find out how to do things.
Right.
That is intended for all the Souls games and Bloodborne, all of them. Like, they are not, you can play them without talking to other people. That is a valid way to go about it. It's just not the designed intentional way of playing those games. You're meant to reach out to the community to talk. I mean, there's a reason why you can put notes on the ground in the game. It's not, and once you know his background is like a degree in social science, you're like, oh, this makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want these to feel like you're alone. Like, you are alone playing it, but you're not alone in the people and in the group of people playing this game.
That's like why it's so important for you to have dropped Horizon and jump into it when people are still, it's in the zeitgeist.
Kind of. Yes.
Although I don't think it'll leave the zeitgeist, but
I don't think it is either. But it was really cool to be that. And like, I'm talking with some other friends as they're playing it too, and I was clearly the furthest along, but they're asking me, I'm like, oh, I made it to this place, or I'm here, I'm trying to find this thing, I just did this. You have that item. did I miss it? And I'm like, oh yeah, you totally missed it. You're past where you would have got it. I think you need to jump back one grace point and traverse that again. There's a secret part that you missed. And you don't want to spell it out unless they specifically want you to, but it's like, it's that simple communication of like, this is how people get word of mouth to find things. It's probably why Demon's Souls became kind of this cult hit to begin with.
It's sort of genius in that if you do get a critical mass, like you have to talk to other people. It's almost like the playground discussions of video games when we were kids. But that's word of mouth. Like, wait, what are you guys talking about? Oh, it's Demon's Souls game. Blah 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 blah. Like, wow, you're forcing people to talk about it, so they talk about it, and other people hear about it. Like Elden Ring. Like, obviously we had heard about it for a long time. You know, From has a pedigree, yada yada yada. But the conversation that's happening about Elden Ring right now, it's every fucking where. To the point where I'm like, maybe I should hop into it. In fact, I'm not doing it. I just got the third subordinate function in Horizon, and now I've got the task to go to San Francisco and get the next clearance. And I'm like, oh, this is a good part to stop so I can check out Elden Ring. I was like, no, don't do that. I think did you get to San Francisco before you stopped?
I did. I finished all of San Francisco.
Okay, so you got the clearance and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some really cool stuff in San Francisco, I will say.
Awesome. Cool.
I'm trying to think here. So you actually are going to San Francisco proper to get the clearance. So you've met a character then, a new tribe.
Oh yeah, the Quen.
They're fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, came across the seas sort of thing.
Yeah, like we came across the seas, like you came up. Wait, what?
You broadened the world so much. I'm like, fuck, I want to see this.
Yeah.
And you learn so much more when you go do the San Francisco quest.
Cool.
Like you really dig into I mean, you're shown a lot of like their beliefs and how it differs from like the tribes of this part of the world.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, it was already interesting when you first meet them, and it's like, oh, their focus just is out of date.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you
forbidden knowledge.
It's lost and forbidden. Like, no, you just need an upgrade.
Yeah, you just don't have the right firmware. Sorry.
The only thing that still bugs me is, and you know, I just have to suspend disbelief, but they all speak with the same American accents everywhere they live.
Sure.
But you know, I understand that.
Was the focus translating them?
Oh, you know what? That might be the hand wavy thing, for sure.
I want to say that they mentioned that at one point.
Not in the initial discussion. Maybe
no,
later.
Not in that. But I mean, in either the first Horizon.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they probably did.
Zero Dawn, or some point in this, they might have mentioned that.
But how does that work for folks who don't have focuses? I guess you're Aloy, so you're hearing everything through your focus. So.
Yeah. I can't remember that one. I could be wrong. I could be so very wrong on that. But I thought they made reference to that.
I mean, it would make sense. That's how you hand wave it all away. But yeah, you like battle this new group when you're going in to get Demeter, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, just these new soldiers. Then you meet that diviner or whatever. Who's pretty cool. Like I like a lot of this game. Things about that are better than Horizon Zero Dawn we've already talked about. But one thing is like you're working with people a lot more.
Yes.
You're definitely not isolated or alone. I love going back to the base and just going through all the fucking dialogue. I need to complete those companion quests. I assume I need to for the end game too. But,
maybe.
You know, I assume like fucking what's his name? Not Apollo. Kotalo. Kotalo maybe. It's like
Kotala.
Kotala.
I know you're talking.
Yeah, help me get a metal arm. Like I want to do that. Did you finish that quest?
No.
Okay.
Not though.
Yeah, I want to do that for you.
I finished Zoe's quest.
Oh, cool.
That was good to do. I finished a couple. I did Zoe's.
Did you finish Talana's quest? I've done 2 or 3 legs of it, and I'm on to the next part where she's looking for Artemis or Armoris. I forget his name. But I'm wondering, does she come back to the base eventually? Like, is there someone else coming to the base that I haven't got yet, or do I have everyone?
You don't have everyone.
Oh, okay, cool.
I will just say that there's more.
Cool. Okay. I'm wondering if I'm missing them or if they like are just in the main storyline.
No, just continue playing the main story.
All right, cool.
Um,
Ted Farrell comes back to the base.
Jesus.
I love this game, man. It is the fucking writing in the Sea of the Sands, or the Sands of the Seas.
I love that trio.
They're great. They're not only are they great, like cool characters, the writing is fucking like, I don't know who wrote that quest or who wrote that whole piece, but it's someone different than wrote the other shit. I swear to God, the quality of the writing is like a step above, and it's good throughout the game. But that part was exquisite. It was so good.
Yeah, just the difference between those three characters and how they talk was so well done.
Yep.
Like the inventor who's just super excited to get the new stuff. The accountant that's like worried about money and safety and everything, and then the
theater guy,
poetic, the theater guy was always would just talk in poetic prose, and I loved it. I also loved the theater guy's voice actor as well.
Yeah, me too.
His voice was so good.
It stands out from anyone else in the game, to be honest.
But yes, they have some side quests. I told you that you can go do, like come back there and you can do some more stuff there with them.
Yeah, Aloy was talking to Katalo, and he had said, "Oh, I watched that through your focus. They looked interesting." And she's like, "Oh, I should go back and see if they need anything else." I was like, "Aha!" Like that's one thing that this game does really well, and I know with the update they've changed it. And people were annoyed that she kept saying, "I'm gonna send it back to my stash. I'm gonna send it back to my stash."
Oh yeah, that one.
Oh God! But the other stuff that she says when you're kind of near a different quest, she'll talk about that other quest to kind of remind you and hint at it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. There's very few things about the game that I dislike. One thing that I've grown to dislike pretty strongly, and is the climbing. I think the climbing is terrible. I'm glad you can climb more
things. Better than the first game, but it's not great.
I'm not janking through the environment, but it's not even like smooth, you know? Like
no.
Even like Assassin's Creed, whatever, name one, of the recent ones. Like the climbing is great. Breath of the Wild, obviously, it's great. This is a fixed problem, and this is just it's awful. Like I get stuck in a place where I can't like move, even though the ledge is just above me, and I have the yellow lines turned on, so I know exactly where. Just reach up, Aloy, and she just I can't move.
Yeah, those are times when it's kind of annoying because it's like, fine, I get it. You want me to go a slightly different path. Okay, I go back down, I move to the left or right, and then I go up, and then it catches. Like,
but I'm next to it. There's like an invisible wall here. Just reach your fucking hand over. God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There are definitely times it does not work out.
First world problems. But I love the quest. I love the side quests. I love fucking everything else about this game, man. It's so good, and I'm not gonna stop and pick up Elden Ring, or WWE. I'm gonna.
That's fine. That's fine. Continue through that Elden Ring. Even though I've completed ending, I haven't started New Game Plus or Journey 2 as they call it. But basically, I opened the map because you can still explore before starting Journey 2, and since it's like an illustrated map. I started scouring the map of like, okay, where haven't I found ruins? Because once you find a ruin, a temple, a tower, a city, it puts an icon on the map to signify that you found it. But you can look at the illustrated map and be like, oh, there's a cave there. Oh, that's a ruin over there, because it can kind of see the walls like sketched in, sort of thing. Like, so I just started scouring the map. And I'm like, oh, this whole chunk I haven't explored. I'm gonna go explore that. Okay, so now I'm just going through the map, just exploring things that I didn't see,
cool.
And finding crazy shit because this game just keeps throwing it at me constantly, of being like, oh, new thing, didn't experience this before. Okay, yeah, it's a masterpiece of a game. I can't imagine how this game was made. I'm shocked that it exists, honestly.
Do you think that there's no way any other game the rest of the year dethrones this for you as Game of the Year?
I don't know. I don't want to say that yet. We'll see what comes out. But right now it is definitely Game of the Year, and it's going to be hard to beat it.
Yeah.
So if something does, yay for us.
For everyone, yeah, exactly.
Another really good game.
Good point.
Because this, I don't know. I mean, it's still a Souls game. Combat is hard. Surprisingly, I'm having a generally overall easier time with this game than any of the Souls games.
That's good.
Maybe I'm a little bit over leveled. I don't know. Although like people at work, I beat a boss that a couple of people at work were saying they're like, this is the hardest boss that From has ever done.
Oh.
And it's a completely optional side boss. I will say this, 80% of players will never see that boss.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. And I like finished it in like 3 times. I'm not saying I'm good at it or anything. It just was like, really? This is the hardest thing? I'm like, either I'm super over leveled or my build's really dumb strong.
Or you're amazing. You should go back to Bloodborne now. Just rip them.
I don't think so. I don't want to play those games.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt, I was like, I'm weirdly having the most problems sometimes with just random mobs in the world. Like there are certain bosses, or like not even, they're mini bosses that just give me hell.
Yeah.
More than the full bosses.
Do you think you were talking about like the crazy shit you had to go through to like unlock a certain area? Do you think there is somewhere in the game you have to do the craziest shit imaginable to unlock the Winds of Winter?
If only.
Oh my god, what if it just opened up an in-game text of the Winds of Winter?
Winds of Winter. Oh, sure. Why not? It's pretty much more likely than us actually opening a book of the Winds of Winter. So.
I feel sorry for everyone who's focused on my magnum opus. They should focus on the other works that I'm working on. Fuck off, dude. Sorry.
Yes, you're not writing any of this thing because, oh right, you just listed all the other things that you're doing.
Yep.
I get it. Just say it. You're making money doing other things. It's fine. And that's where your creative energy is at now.
Yep.
And just be like, fuck it, I'm not going to finish this story. It doesn't matter.
I worked on it a bunch in 2020 and less in 2021. Like, oh, great, you're working on it less and less? Great. What the fuck? Ugh. Oh, well, whatever.
I don't know.
I'm over it. Clearly I'm not over it.
And Brandon Sanderson wrote 5 novels.
Oh, my God. He's like, yeah, I'm
2
going
years.
to do a Kickstarter for my 5 fucking books that I wrote.
Yeah.
Which got me back to Oathbringer. I was listening to Oathbringer again today, and God, it's fucking good.
I have not. Is that Stormlight Chronicles?
It's Stormlight.
I have not, or Stormlight Archive.
Yeah,
I haven't
Archive.
read any of that.
It is my favorite of the kind fantasy series since Game of Thrones. It's fucking completely different, but it's so deep and the world building is so strong. And it's, Sanderson's like very much, I don't know if I want to say like a YA author, but like he's not talking about fucking, right? They're siblings, they're not fucking each other. This is very much like a PG kind of experience, maybe PG-13 a little bit, but the characters are great, man. They're so good. So
yeah, and they're talking about an author that is writing, because I mean he wrote, well, I think he said in his video his Kickstarter's for 4 of the books.
Yes,
and the 5th one he thinks is going to be a graphic novel. Actually, he feels like it's probably better as a graphic novel. Not a full novel. So,
and I didn't catch. Is the books that are coming out in this Kickstarter, are they being published through like a traditional publisher, or he's like, I'm just self-publishing these?
He's just doing it.
It's fucking like $29 million or whatever. Like fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't buy any of them. I didn't buy in.
Oh no, I'm not gonna buy in. Like that's the thing with it, where I'm like, I haven't read his books.
Yeah.
People really enjoy it. Maybe this will get me to read either Stormlight Archive or Mistborn.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to. I've been for years kind of circling Mistborn potentially because it seems weird. I'll say where people have to like eat metals to cast magic.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that's like, I should do that. So I don't have like a drive of like, oh, I need to get his books every quarter like shipped to me plus swag boxes from his others. I'm like, I don't have any investment in his series. I don't care about that stuff. So
if they were signed, I would have jumped on it. But they were not. They were specifically unsigned. I was like, yeah.
They're just like nice versions of these books that you have no clue what they are. He's like, they're all standalone.
Yep.
Like, he just got to write books on top of his commitments for his current series.
Yep.
Of that he's writing. I'm just like, fuck, dude, you write so much. You are a machine.
I met him at Comic-Con, and he signed a couple of my books, and I was like, so what advice do you have for authors, whatever. And he just wrote in my book, BICHOK. He's like, Bickhawk. And I was like, okay. He's like, butt in chair, hands on keyboard. I was like, yep, that's about it. Just fucking sit down and type. Same thing as Stephen King. Just sits down and just fucking shoots it out.
Yeah. And that's how I kind of equate it in my head of Sanderson is to King in the same way of just being, they've focused on their craft of actually just writing.
Yep.
Like, not even writing necessarily well the first time or anything, just being like, no, I just need to output content.
Yep.
I will edit it into something good.
Yes, exactly.
But I need to output. I can't edit anything I don't write. So.
Yep, that's
Step
exactly.
one,
get the first.
Right.
Yep, get the first draft out there. It's garbage. Fix it up. It's I have obviously I do a bunch of fiction writing, but I haven't had that kind of output, and it's been harder for me. The music thing though, that's what I do. Like that, it's just I can't not. Every time I'm like, I'm not gonna write a song, I'm done. I'm gonna take a little break. I just fucking the next day I'm writing a fucking whole song. I've got like 6 more songs I wrote in the last week. It's like, what the fuck? And then when you do that, like I listen to it and then I'm like, oh, whatever. Some things are wrong. I went back and fixed the structure, and like the next day it's like 100% better. But if I didn't do the shitty first draft, I wouldn't have this better second draft. So
same thing for my job with designing things. Nothing that a designer kicks out the first time is great.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to kick it. You want to write it. You want to present it because you want to edit and adapt it because it can become good. You just need that foundation to start from.
Yeah, so. You can't make something better if you have nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm totally get it. But yeah, we are off on a tangent now. But yes.
Yep.
All of that is good stuff. This was episode 330 of Prof and Dev Play Games. If you like our podcast, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. Tell a friend or 3, and we will be back next week. I think there's a Xbox Indie thing happening this week, so maybe we'll chat about
really?
that.
Okay.
I think it's this week. So yeah, we will see you next week.
All right, later, everyone.
They take is known. All the debt that they have is due. Every city that they take will be there too. Давайте садики соняшники. Plant the seeds in their pockets. Every friend that they had is gone. Every move that they make is wrong. All the debt that they have is due. Every city that they take will be there too.